From the quadrangle thus formed, the avenue sloped away down towards the main gates. The original buildings were of old red brick, warm with age, and strangely at peace with the others of later dates that were scattered here and there throughout the college park. The open parts of the park were planted with single oaks and elms, so that the expanses of grass between were pleasantly broken up. At the foot of the hill, over to the left, a good-sized river flowed gently down to join the Liffey. It was known to the students as the Styx, and was used for rowing practice in the proper season, to the understandable annoyance of the swams that owned it. King's College was largely residential, the rooms being all contained in the main building. There were 2-roomed suites for the students, as was the custom in the golden days when the college was built. There were slightly larger suites for unmarried members of the staff. The president's lodging occupied the right wing of the quadrangle. Thus the students were fortunate in being able to observe academic life at very close quarters indeed, and they never failed to appreciate this privilege. Walking up the avenue to the main building, Professor Daly found that he might almost have been seeing it all for the first time. It was late October, and the Michaelmas term had begun a fortnight ago. The trees were in their autumn beauty, and their solitary stillness smote his heart. The old red buildings glowed peacefully in the afternoon sun. He went into the main hall and stood, hesitating, feeling an almost intolerable loneliness. This was an alien and frightening sensation for him. He was rescued from it by a middle-aged porter who darted out of a little office at the back of the hall and scurried towards him. "Good evening, Professor. Well, it's like old times to see you walking in through that door again. And how are you at all? And how are they all below in Galway?" He was shaking Daly's hand and pawing his shoulder while he talked, as so many people feel entitled to do to the old. Though he had always disliked this man for his cunning, insinuating ways, Daly was grateful to him now for the warmth of his welcome. He disengaged himself deftly and said, "Good evening, Jennings. It's good to be back." He had no intention of replying to the slightly derisive question about the health of the people of Galway. He went on quickly. "There is room for me in the college, I believe?" "In your old rooms, sir," said Jennings eagerly. "They're vacant at the moment, and the president said we were to put you in there." He seized Daly's suitcase and led the way up the wide, polished staircase, chattering irritatingly all the while. "You'll see great changes here, sir, since your time. Great changes. The president is a great man." "A great man! A very able man," said Daly gently, pained at the smallness of Jennings's supply of adjectives. "'Twould take yourself to think of the word, sir," said Jennings, looking at him with delight. "An able man indeed." Patronizing little so-and-so, thought Daly, glancing sideways at Jennings. A moment later he reproached himself for his harshness. It was no wonder that Jennings had developed a patronizing manner, after a quarter-century of playing nursemaid to professors. He hurried to make a friendly remark. "I don't know the president very well. I was acquainted with him years ago, before he was appointed professor of mineralogy, but he had only been in college a year when I retired." "That's right, sir," said Jennings. "'Twas a pity he couldn't carry on with the mineralogy after he became president, but sure, he couldn't be everywhere." "Professor Gleeson succeeded him, I think," said Daly. "That's right, sir. A quiet sort of a man. The students say he's not a patch on Professor Bradley." "Students always say that," said Daly tolerantly. "I remember Professor Gleeson as a very clever man indeed. Students like to be talking about the good old times. The greatest numbskull is labelled a genius once he is retired." "That's right, sir, of course," said Jennings coolly. "Should they say the same about Professor Badger, sir, that he's only trotting after yourself?" They had reached the outer door of Daly's old rooms, and Jennings' face was blank while he opened the door and led the way in. He appeared to be all unconscious of the implications of his last remark, though this seemed hardly possible. Daly found himself quite...